Lagos is not growing, it is exploding. If demography is destiny, Lagos is writing Nigeria's future in capital letters. With an estimated population of 27 million squeezed into the country's smallest state by land mass, Lagos has become Africa's most intense urban experiment. Every single day, roughly 6,000 new people arrive, half of them with no formal address. This is not migration, it is a tidal force. The economic gravity is undeniable. Lagos State's internally generated revenue surged from 268 billion Nigerian nairas in 2015 to 1.26 trillion Nigerian nairas in 2024, pushing total revenue to 2.24 trillion Nigerian nairas. Lagos is no longer competing with Nigerian states, it is operating like a regional economy in its own right. But prosperity has a price. Space has become the scarcest commodity in the city. Series Introduction. It's Friday the 30th of January, 2026. Welcome to 2026, to the third edition of the Bourdilloncrest monthly video series and the first video series of our first full operational year. In today's series we take a look at why Lagos City, Eko, remains the premier real estate development and investment market in Nigeria. If you are watching us for the first time, please subscribe to our YouTube and Instagram channels, smash the like button, and help us grow our family. If you have already subscribed, then show your support by liking our YouTube videos and making a comment. Now let's jump right back into the story. A housing shortage that refuses to blink. Between 1978 and 2025, government and private sector efforts delivered an estimated 2.5 million housing units. Impressive on paper. In reality, Lagos is still short by 3.396 million homes, including over 600,000 structurally inadequate units. This deficit is the engine behind today's rental crisis. Supply is not just lagging demand, it is losing the race entirely. Every planning approval granted is met by a faster wave of population inflow. The result is predictable: rents rise first, questions come later.
When rent ignores inflation completely. Nigeria's headline inflation eased to 16.05% by October 2025, down sharply from 33.88% in late 2024. Lagos landlords did not get the memo. Across key residential nodes, average rents jumped by 105.6%, creating what the report defines as a landlord inflation gap. This is not inflation, it is repricing driven by desperation and scarcity. The island is expensive, the mainland is relentless. Eko Atlantic remains the apex market. One-bedroom apartments trade around 580 million Nigerian nairas in US dollars, with average land prices exceeding 6 million Nigerian nairas in US dollars per square meter. This is Lagos priced for global capital. Ikoyi and Banana Island continue to attract dollar-denominated buyers, expatriates, diplomats, and political capital. Rental yields here sit between 3.8% and 5%, modest by Nigerian standards but compensated by capital preservation. Victoria Island sits at the intersection of lifestyle and commerce. Four-bedroom rents climbed from 14 million Nigerian nairas in 2020 to 30 million Nigerian nairas in 2025. A 47% jump. Proximity to Eko Atlantic keeps six structurally relevant. Lekki Phase 1 has emerged as the investment workhorse. Two-bedroom apartments rose from 70.5 million Nigerian nairas in 2020 to 247.5 million Nigerian nairas in 2025, a 251% increase. Location, access, and limited land supply are doing the heavy lifting. Lekki Peninsula 2, where growth went to multiply. Stretching from Ikate to VGC, Lekki Peninsula 2 has matured into a premium residential corridor. One-bedroom apartment prices doubled to 115 million Nigerian nairas between 2020 and 2025. Land prices jumped 354% to 685,000 Nigerian nairas per square meter. This zone thrives on spillover demand. Residents want proximity to Ikoyi and 6 without paying Ikoyi prices. Developers followed the people, infrastructure followed the developers, and value followed infrastructure.
Aja and Sangatido, Lagos pressure valve. A decade ago, this corridor was greenfield. Today, it is Lagos' most efficient pressure valve. Aja and Sangatido have become the functional pressure valve of Lagos real estate precisely because infrastructure investment is finally catching up with population growth. These neighborhoods are no longer spillover zones, they are becoming connected places with structural upgrades that directly unlock residential demand. The most immediate upgrade shaping this corridor is the extensive rehabilitation of the Lekki Aja Expressway. The Lagos state government has initiated a major 8-month rehabilitation project stretching from the Lekki First toll gate through to the Aja underbridge, designed to improve the carriageway, ease chronic congestion, and reduce travel time. The works are being carried out in phases with traffic diversions to maintain movement for commuters and businesses along what has become one of the busiest arterial corridors in Lagos. The project commenced in November 2025 and is planned to run through July 2026. But road rehabilitation is just the start. Aja and Sangatido sit along the broader connectivity vision of Lagos State's Strategic Transport Master Plan. The long-planned Green Line rapid rail corridor will run from Marina through Victoria Island and Lekki to the Lekki Free Trade Zone, with potential ridership of up to 500,000 daily passengers once completed. This rail line, currently in advanced planning and early mobilization stages, will link Aja directly into Lagos' rapid transit network, driving both commuter convenience and residential desirability. Looking ahead, planned enhancements such as focused waterworks and utility upgrades, including rehabilitation of mini waterworks and expansion of basic services in Lekki and Aja communities, will improve livability and support larger populations.
These upgrades are critical to converting fast-growing residential nodes from commuter belts to self-sustaining townships. The cumulative effect is clear. Aja and Sangatido are no longer peripheral. They are connective infrastructure corridors. This is why rents and values have climbed sharply, and why this corridor remains the investment frontier of Lagos residential real estate. This is middle-income Lagos scaling upward. Not glamorous, but unstoppable. Infrastructure is quietly rewriting the map. The Lekki deep-sea port is projected to add $360 billion to the economy over time. The $3 billion Green Line rail project is shifting commuter logic. The Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway is changing how investors think about frontage. But regulation is now catching up. The state's pause on building permits along the coastal corridor, and the declaration of 176 estates, as illegal marks a turning point. Title integrity is no longer optional. In 2026, compliance will matter as much as location. Infrastructure in Lagos is no longer a background narrative, it is the plot twist. For decades, location premiums were driven almost entirely by proximity to Ikoyi and Victoria Island. That logic is now being dismantled, piece by piece, by transport, logistics, and coastal infrastructure that is physically redrawing the city's economic geography. Adding to this momentum, the Lekki International Airport is transitioning from pipeline promise to physical reality. Lagos State recently signed a memorandum of understanding with international infrastructure firm Suma Group to develop the airport on about 3,500 hectares near the Lekki Free Trade Zone, with an initial capacity to handle around 5 million passengers each year and accommodate large aircraft such as the Airbus A380. Aviation regulators have begun site inspections ahead of construction, and the project is projected for completion by 2027.
This will relieve pressure on the overcrowded Murtala Muhammad International Airport and improve connectivity that extends far beyond the Lagos metropolitan area. Rail is reinforcing this shift. The proposed $3 billion Green Line rail, linking Marina through Victoria Island and Lekki to the eastern suburbs, is quietly one of the most important residential catalysts in the state. Rail compresses distance. Areas that once felt psychologically far are suddenly commutable. When commuting time falls, rental tolerance rises. This is how mid-tier locations graduate into premium residential zones without changing their postcodes. The Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway compounds this effect. Beyond its national significance, it creates a new logic of frontage and accessibility along the Atlantic corridor. Historically, coastal proximity was a luxury premium enjoyed by a narrow band of neighborhoods. That exclusivity is now under threat. As access improves, the value gap between legacy coastal districts and emerging ones will narrow, not because the old areas are falling, but because new areas are catching up structurally. In practical terms, this means that the future premium in Lagos residential property will sit at the intersection of access and compliance. A well-located asset without clean title will increasingly trade at a discount. Conversely, a compliant development slightly outside the traditional prime zones will attract stronger liquidity and more resilient demand. The implication for investors is clear. Infrastructure is creating new winners, but only for those who respect planning frameworks, environmental setbacks, and tidal integrity. Lagos is still expanding, but it is no longer expanding blindly. The map is being rewritten, and only properly documented assets will be allowed to stay on it.
The real divide is no longer island versus mainland. The real divide is verified versus risky. Lagos has entered an era where documentation, planning compliance, and infrastructure access command a premium equal to finishing quality. Developments with clear title, reliable power solutions, and professional estate management will outperform regardless of postcode. Everything else will struggle for liquidity. Lagos property is not a bubble, it is a battlefield. This market is not driven by sentiment, it is driven by necessity. Lagos is absorbing people faster than it can house them. Until that equation changes, pressure will remain upward. The smart money is no longer asking whether to invest in Lagos. It is asking where compliance, infrastructure, and demand intersect cleanly. In Lagos, the future is not waiting. It is already renting. If you would like to know more, or wish to discuss brand sponsorship of any of our videos on estate agency, property development, construction and facilities management, please get in touch on any of the social media handles below. All our content is developed from real-life experiences in a professional and entrepreneurial journey that spans across 8 countries and 4 decades. Quote of the week. Buy real estate in areas where the path exists. And buy more real estate where there is no path, but you can create your own. David Warinker.